Hey everyone! Today, I'm bringing you a really cool movie about Minecraft that just hit theaters. So, a group of people accidentally stumble into this magical world called the Overworld, where everything is made of blocks. The thing is, there's evil which is taking over this world. Apparently, back in the day, she tried to learn sexy dance, but everyone made fun of her, so now she's super bitter and wants revenge on the whole world. Will this group of people be able to save this magical world? Let's find out right now. Let's jump right in. First, let me introduce you to Steve. He's this young dude, kind of baby face, but he acts like an old man. Steve is a bit of an introvert, and he's always dreamed of being a miner. It's the kind of job where he could build and craft all sorts of amazing things. But life isn't always a dream, and it's never worked out for him. Every time he tries to go into mine, the local miner chases him away like his pants are on fire. See, there's a rule here that only adults are allowed in the mine. Time flies, and after many years, Steve is finally 18 plus. He's grown into a strong, pink-loving man. Currently, he works as a boring doorknob salesman. Life just ain't always what you expect. So, one day, Steve's sitting around scarfing down his lunch when he starts playing with his food, making it into a square block. This little action brings back memories of his childhood and the burning passion he had back when he was a kid running around naked in the rain. Without hesitation, he decides to do what he couldn't do before. So, Steve goes back to the mine to face off against that old miner dude. Seriously, how hasn't that guy aged a day in decades? Even though Steve's kinda chubby, he's super agile, dodging left and right. He manages to avoid the old miner and gets inside the mine. Then he starts digging and digging and digging. After a while, he finds a glowing crystal and something else that looks like a crystal block. And when he puts them together, Steve creates a portal that takes him to the Overworld. The scene in front of him leaves him in awe. Everything here seems to be shaped like a square block. What the hell? What is this? A pink square sheep? Steve's a quick learner, and he can create anything he imagines. First, he builds a simple stone house, and then another house made of the pink sheep's wool. Everything's fine until nightfall. Zombies and skeletons show up every 20 minutes to wreck stuff outside, but luckily the house is solid, so it's all good. The next morning, as soon as he opens the door, Steve runs into a wolf growling in front of his house. But with just one bone, he tames it and names it Dennis. They quickly become close friends, and Steve's really happy to have Dennis around. Together, they build a lot of cool stuff in this place, to the point where they create a whole world called Steve's World. To celebrate, he even gets a bunch of pandas from the local market to come and dance for a party atmosphere. Time goes by, and one day Steve comes across a strange ruin, but it's missing a piece. Coincidentally, there's a chest nearby that contains exactly the missing piece. Steve completes it, and just like that, he opens another portal. When he goes through it, he's led to another world called the Nether. This place is full of humanoid pigs called piglins, who have an endless greed for gold. They're all ruled by their leader, the witch Malgosha. After capturing Steve, she steals the powerful cube from him. With it, the witch Malgosha can open a portal to the Overworld, then loot all the resources and turn it into a piglin-ruled territory. Knowing that plan, Steve can't let the Overworld be destroyed. So, while the guards aren't paying attention, he has Dennis steal the key and escape, steal back the cube, and run away. But the enemies are too numerous and aggressive. Knowing that it's hard to escape, Steve tells Dennis to take the cube back to Earth and hide it from the piglins. So, Steve is finally captured and imprisoned by the piglins, while Dennis follows his owner's scent, takes the cube back to his house on Earth, and hides it under the bed. Many more years pass, and now, let me introduce you to a former gamer named Garrett Garrison. He's a master in the gaming world, feared by every opponent. At his peak, everyone knew him, but that's just the past. Fate has it that now he's just the owner of a game shop as empty as a ghost town. While he's dwelling in the past, the mailman appears and gives him a notice. It's because he hasn't paid his taxes in a long time, so the store will be foreclosed. With no other choice, he goes to see his friend, who specializes in auctioning off unclaimed shipping containers. It's kind of like buying a mystery box. If you open it and there's a lot of good stuff, you profit. Otherwise, you lose big time. Garrett asks his friend if there are any good deals today. His friend says there is, because the list says there's a vintage Atari Cosmos handheld console from '78 in one of the containers, which is worth a lot. As soon as he hears that, Garrett's eyes light up. If it's really like that, it's a huge steal. So he begs to buy it for $100, saying he can sell it for 10 times that amount. In exchange, he'll help his friend pick up girls. But unexpectedly, many other people also want to buy the console. In the end, the auction exceeds his budget. Garrett has no choice but to raise the price to $900, determined to buy it. After buying it, he says the money will come, but it'll take a few months. So can he float alone until then? When he opens the box, he finds out that it's a bait and switch. There's no game console in the box, just a bunch of random stuff, and in the middle of it all is a cube from before. It really is a ripoff. Garrett gets angry and starts smashing things around. Now, where's he going to get the money to pay the shop rent? It doesn't stop there. On the way home, his car breaks down in the middle of the road. Truly, his fate wasn't just unlucky, it was unlucky with extra fur on it. Not far away, Natalie and Henry are two siblings who have lost all their relatives, so it's just the two of them relying on each other. They came to this town because the rent and other expenses are cheaper here, and it's easy to find a job. Natalie says she'll work at the local potato factory. It's simple work, but super boring. With the little money they have left, they manage to rent a small, cute house. When they arrive, they meet the real estate agent, Dawn, who's also an old acquaintance of their mom. She hands over keys and wishes the siblings good luck in getting to know the town. Before leaving, she also offers her condolences about the recent passing of their mom. Since it's Henry's first day of school, Natalie makes him a potato pizza, a dish their mom used to make for them. Natalie suggests that he share the pizza with his friends at school, saying it might help him make friends more easily. On his way to school, Henry passes by Garrett's old game shop. He seems really interested in electronics and games. Garrett starts rambling on, bragging about how he's a celebrity loved by the whole town. But Henry doesn't understand what he's talking about and explains that he's new to town and wants to say hello to the neighbors to make friends. He offers Garrett some of his potato pizza. Garrett says he can give him some advice, but in exchange, he has to sign up for his gaming course, which costs $50 an hour. It's true that there's nothing easier than making money by selling courses, but Henry declines the offer. At school, he meets the principal, and they have a pretty friendly conversation. The principal is enthusiastic, rambling on about everything under the sun. Then Henry enters his classroom. The art teacher asks the students to draw an art project based on a real-life model. When Henry creatively draws his picture in a different style, the teacher doesn't really appreciate it. He says that they just need to do everything according to model and don't need to be creative. Because of that banana rocket picture, Henry gets mocked by his friends. So he makes a real rocket out of some of the lab equipment in the classroom. But just as he's about to finish, some mean kids intentionally sabotage it. As a result, after starting up, the rocket malfunctions and crashes into the potato factory where Natalie works. The teacher doesn't want to get involved, so he runs away as fast as he can. Because of this incident, Henry gets called to the principal's office for a chat. She asks to speak with his guardian. Panicked, Henry realizes that if his sister finds out he got called in on his first day, he's definitely going to get grounded. So Henry calls Garrett and begs him to pretend to be his uncle. At first, Garrett refuses, but as soon as he hears that Henry has $26 in cash, he immediately rushes to the school. When the principal sees Garrett arrive, it's like she's struck by Cupid's arrow. She starts acting all coy and bashful. Back at the shop, Henry says that his rocket crashed into the potato factory. So he's afraid that if the truth comes out, his sister will get fired. Blaming himself, he throws his notebook in the trash and wants to give up on his creative passion. While they're talking, Henry notices the strange cube in the back of the shop and curiously asks what it is. Garrett just shrugs and says he's selling it for $95, but he has no idea what it's actually for. When he finds an instruction sheet underneath, a warning in big letters says that you absolutely must not combine the crystal block and the crystal. But clearly, the more you forbid something, the more it makes people curious. So Henry puts the two blocks together. As a result, a strange phenomenon occurs. The cube starts vibrating like crazy, as if it's leading them somewhere. Curious, they follow the cube's guidance to an abandoned mine, unaware that they're about to embark on an adventure that will change their lives forever. Meanwhile, Natalie comes home from work and notices that Henry isn't there. Worried that her little brother has been kidnapped and sold to Cambodia, she calls a real estate agent, Dawn, for help. Using a tracking app, Dawn locates him in an old abandoned mine. While Henry and Garrett are standing in amazement in front of the portal to the Overworld, suddenly Natalie's group shows up, startling them. Suddenly, the mysterious cube starts glowing. shooting out a strange energy that's pulling Henry toward it. Without thinking twice, everyone grabs onto him, trying to hold him back. And just like that, one person after another, they get sucked in and cross the portal straight into the overworld. Needless to say, the scene in front of them leaves everyone in awe. In this situation, Garrett still doesn't forget to proudly introduce himself as a gaming legend from '89. Seriously, dude, what does that even have to do with anything? Right after that, they encounter the iconic pink sheep, staring at them curiously. But what no one expected is that a villager in the overworld saw the portal and curiously went through it to Earth, starting a new connection between the worlds. Meanwhile, deep in the gloomy and desolate Nether, the piglin humanoid pigs have completely grown tired of digging without finding any gold. The witch Malgosia is having a fit, threatening them with a punishment worse than death if they don't work harder. One of them, who wasn't working and was just doodling, gets skewered and turned into a juicy piece of pork. Right then, she picks up a signal that the portal to the overworld has been reactivated. So, she personally goes down to the dungeon to find Steve, who's still imprisoned there. "You stole my cube, and it's time to return it," she says, pulling out the necklace of the wolf Dennis, which she picked up earlier, to threaten him. She says that she'll agree to let Steve go, but if he wants to save Dennis's life, he has to bring the cube back to her. Back in Overworld, Garrett has tried to do all sorts of goofy things to impress the pink sheep, begging it to give him quests like in the games he used to play. But time passes and nothing happens. Then suddenly, the wolf Dennis comes running and howls loudly, scaring the pink sheep and making it run away. The whole area becomes as quiet as a graveyard. The atmosphere suddenly gets a bit creepy. Right after that, eerie sounds start rising up. Skeleton hunters, giant spiders, zombies, and creepers crawl out of the darkness, attacking them with all their might. Seeing that, everyone gets scared and runs away as fast as they can. While running, Henry accidentally bumps into a tree stump, but thanks to that, he figures out how this world works. He uses his intelligence and starts building with blocks, creating defensive structures to protect the others, unaware that the cube had fallen to ground at some point. Garrett gets separated from the group and has no choice but to keep running towards Henry's group's building. On the way, he picks up the cube, but it gets shattered by skeleton soldiers' arrows, and the outer crystal part breaks into pieces. Because of that, the portal closes completely. Garrett quickly picks up the remaining crystal shards and shoves them into his pants for safekeeping, then prepares to fight the monsters. But they're too numerous and aggressive. Garrett's group has no way to defend themselves. In that moment of crisis, Steve appears like a hero with top-notch skills. He easily defeats the monsters, as easily as pushing a grocery cart. Then the sun starts to rise, and the sunlight causes the zombies to burn up in flames. Once everyone is safe, Steve tells them that he came here for Cube. He makes a deal. He'll help Garrett's group return to Earth, but in exchange, he'll keep the remaining part of Cube. But if it's not complete, there's no way to return safely. The only way is to find another crystal block to replace the one that was broken. But that crystal block is in a very dangerous place. So a deal is struck. Steve will help Garrett's group find a crystal block to open the portal back to Earth. Afterwards, Steve will keep the cube. Meanwhile, the villager from the overworld who went through the portal gets hit by the principal's car. Afraid of getting the police involved, the principal quickly apologizes and invites him to dinner to make up for it. In the overworld, Steve leads Garrett's group to a fairly peaceful village. A massive iron golem appears, making Natalie's jaw drop. Gotta admit, Natalie's really pretty. To recharge their energy, they all go to a roasted chicken shop. Just pull the lever and a delicious lava roasted chicken is ready in a moment. Back in the Nether, Malgosia is losing her cool, tired of constant failures. She summons the strongest general in her army, Chungus, the strongest piglin, but he's a bit clueless. She tells him that 4 strangers are currently holding the cube. Before sending him off, she gives him a special potion to prevent him and his army from turning into zombies along the way. No more joking around. She orders him to retrieve the cube at all costs. Meanwhile, in the overworld, Garrett's group is preparing to set out to find a crystal block. Steve is also generous enough to introduce everyone to his item storage, a magical space full of useful tools. From pig launchers to explosives to knives and swords, he has it all. Here, Garrett also finds an ender pearl, an epic item that allows you to teleport to wherever you throw it. So he immediately tries it out to see if it's as advertised, without realizing that it was the last one they had. Then Steve shows them how to craft tools using different materials. Feeling inspired, Garrett also tries to craft his own weapon. It looks a bit dodgy, but at least it works well. And Henry, with his creativity, easily crafts extremely useful items. Afterwards, Garrett pulls Steve aside to talk. He gets straight to the point, saying that he read the hidden note inside the cube and asks about the rumored treasure. Steve honestly says that he has a diamond stash, but it's deep inside the mine, far away from here. Getting there would be a serious risk. But hearing about the treasure makes Garrett's eyes light up. He tells Steve that no diamonds means no cube, so they decide to go to the mine. But just as they're about to leave, the piglins show up and attack the village. Everything quickly descends into chaos. General Chungus introduces himself to Steve, since they have known each other from the time Steve was imprisoned in the dungeon. He says that he's under orders from the witch to destroy the strangers and seize the cube. But Steve isn't scared. He says, "Come at me, bro." Right at this moment, Garrett wants to show off, so he jumps into the fight with his silly homemade weapon. After waving around for a while, he accidentally hits Steve, and then gets punched non-stop by General Chungus without missing a single hit. In this chaotic situation, Natalie and Dawn join the fight, attacking the piglins. The two sides fight a fierce battle, but the enemy army is very large. After defeating one group, another shows up. While they're fighting, Natalie and Dawn get separated from the others. Steve leads Garrett and Henry up high to escape. When they run out of room, he gives them special flight wings. Thanks to that, all three of them can escape. But the enemy doesn't let them go easily. What happens next is an aerial chase. They glide past cliffs to avoid attacks, performing skillful maneuvers to try to escape the piglin army. But the enemy's numbers are overwhelming. They set up a net to block every escape route. At the most dangerous moment, Garrett and Steve perform a spin and fly straight through a hole in the cliff face, managing to shake off the enemy. Henry wasn't so lucky. After escaping one piglin, he lost control and crashed into Garrett's group. All three of them tumbled into a pile, but luckily they landed in a puddle, so they were safe and sound. Once everyone was safe, Steve told Garrett and Henry about the witch Malevolent. When she was young, she dreamed of becoming a world-class dancer, but her sway dance moves were way ahead of the rigid traditions of the Nether, so everyone made fun of her. Her father, ashamed of her, kicked her out. Because of that, Malevolent vowed to abandon beauty and creativity forever. Now, if she gets the cube, she'll destroy the entire overworld along with all its innocent creatures. Steve also says that he needs a cube to save his beloved wolf, Dennis, who is still being held hostage by Malevolent in the Nether. As for Malevolent, she's furious that General Chungus failed. No longer patient, she unleashes her ultimate weapon, the Great Hog, a giant monster they just created. It wakes up in a rage and, without saying much, sends General Chungus to his doom. Meanwhile, Natalie and the real estate agent Dawn, while wandering the forest, have an unexpected encounter with Steve's wolf, Dennis. Dawn quickly gives him a bone, making it easy to get acquainted. Knowing that this wolf belongs to Steve, they decide to follow him, hoping to find the others. Back underground, Garrett's group finally reaches a mine where the precious diamonds are hidden. Garrett, being too eager, accidentally steps on a trap that was set there, resulting in him getting beaten up badly. When they see the pile of diamonds, before they can even scoop them up, Steve senses something dangerous approaching. Sure enough, the piglins are here. Wasting no time, Steve tells the others that there's a safe room ahead. They jump into the minecarts and take off at full speed. But at the most critical moment, the redstone powering the line runs out. The minecarts stop right in front of a nest of creepers. Just a light touch from these guys and they explode. Just when things couldn't get any worse, the giant piglin appears, roaring furiously with foam on its mouth. With no other choice, Steve and Garrett make a risky decision. They activate all the creepers. A massive explosion shakes the ground, but also allows the group to escape safely. At this point, Henry scolds Garrett, angry that his greed for diamonds put everyone in danger. Garrett bitterly retorts in a cold manner, "I need those diamonds. It's the only way I won't go bankrupt. You're just a kid, you wouldn't understand." But Henry looks him straight in the eye and replies, "Yeah, I'm a kid, but you're not alone. I'm your friend." Those words touch Garrett, leaving him speechless. Then the group starts planning a crystal heist. According to Steve, this place has 3 levels. The first level is guarded by villagers trained in combat, tough and highly disciplined. The second level is controlled by evokers, dark wizards who can summon the purest nightmares. The top level is where the Enderman crystal is, and it's protected by the Enderman himself, a killer who can take you down with just a look. So a plan is devised. Garrett and Steve disguise themselves as wandering minstrels to create a distraction, allowing Henry to sneak to the top floor. Despite trying their best, they're discovered at the last minute. Henry is chased up the stairs. Garrett and Steve are captured and thrown into a WWE-style arena. Their opponent is a teenage zombie riding a chicken, which looks ridiculously badass. Meanwhile, Henry tries to sneak up to the third floor. This room is full of chests containing rare items. After rummaging through everything for a while, he finally finds the crystal block he's looking for. But just then, the Enderman appears behind him. It uses its gaze to hypnotize him, causing Henry to lose control of his mind. But because he's the main character, he quickly regains his senses, hacking at his opponent before he can react. Finally, he gets the teleport ball after defeating the Enderman. Over here, Garrett's group is also struggling. Even though their opponents are just a kid zombie riding a chicken, they're very aggressive. They're small but mighty. It takes a lot of effort for the two of them to defeat them. Then the group meets up again and runs for their lives. But bigger trouble is waiting for them ahead. The witch Malgosha and her piglins somehow manage to follow them here. With a sinister smile, she snatches a cube from Henry's pocket, then turns around and leaves, leaving the piglins to deal with Garrett's group. They pile explosives everywhere, planning to blow up the bridge. Garrett throws Henry onto one of the enemy's airships, and Steve jumps on after him. As for Garrett, he decides to stay behind and hold off the piglins alone, giving everyone time to escape. Then boom, the entire bridge explodes. Steve and Henry are also affected by the shockwave and fall to the ground. Moments later, Dennis finds Steve and wakes him up. One person and one dog reunite and are overjoyed. Beside them, Henry is still unconscious, being cared for by Natalie. Luckily, his life isn't in danger. Over here, the witch Malgosha, after getting the cube, uses it to transform the environment of the overworld, creating conditions for the piglins to invade this place. Darkness is spreading throughout the overworld, and Malgosha's power is swallowing everything. Steve's group decides they have to stop them. They have to avenge Garrett. They immediately get to work, mining materials and crafting new, stronger, and smarter tools. Henry, holding the teleport ball, comes up with a plan. He modifies the giant iron golems, upgrading them with high-speed modules. Now they have a giant metal army ready to face the enemy. Malgosha sees this and smirks, saying that these giant golems won't fight unless provoked. Just then, a dumb kid shoots an arrow, and that's all it takes. The giant iron golems get angered, and the battle begins. The piglins get beaten to a pulp, unable to retaliate. Seeing things go south, Malgosha gets angry and unleashes her strongest weapon, which is a giant piglin. Meanwhile, Steve, equipped with full armor, faces Malgosha alone. Holding a large diamond sword, he looks cool as hell and charges into attack, but he doesn't have enough strength. As a result, he gets beaten up by Malgosha. While the battle is intense, Dawn and Dennis lead a pack of wolves to join the fight. They charge in and bite and tear at the piglins. Henry, at this point, uses a teleport ball to climb to the top of the portal, wanting to steal back the cube. But things aren't that easy. The giant piglin spots him and shoots a beam of energy towards him, causing Henry to fall straight from above. Just when everyone is helpless and can't save him, Garrett appears on the airship, saving Henry from danger. It turns out he was still safe and sound after the bridge explosion earlier. Well, it's a movie for kids, so there's no way the main character would die. Henry takes advantage of the airship, firing at the portal until it shatters, causing the cube to fall down. The entire overworld returns to balance, and the piglins, affected by the sunlight, are all turned into zombies. Steve steps forward to face Malgosha. At this point, there's no way she can win. It's over. She's lost. Malgosha tries to stall for time to sneak attack, but Steve blocks all 3 attempts. Instead of finishing her off, he walks away, letting her live with the shame of her failure. With the last threat neutralized, Steve says goodbye to the group. He turns to Henry and offers him a position in the overworld, a chance to stay and create anything he wants. But Henry smiles and shakes his head. He's going home. Steve respects his decision. He reunites with Dennis, his loyal wolf. Everyone hesitates to say goodbye to each other. After all, they've been through thick and thin together for a while, so saying goodbye isn't easy. Steve watches everyone step through the portal one after another, and just as he's about to return to his quiet life in the overworld, Steve stops, looks around and thinks for a moment, and with determination, he steps through the portal to Earth. A few days later, everything has changed. Garrett's game shop is now packed with people come and play. The group has developed a brand new video game based on their recent adventure. Everyone's lives are much better. Natalie has opened her own self-defense school. Now she's a local hero, a community icon. And Henry, he finally completed his jetpack and flies to school while with his friends. This movie is called a Minecraft movie. It's a fantasy adventure comedy that's perfect for kids or anyone who's a fan of the Minecraft game. The character designs are pretty cool, and the funny situations keep coming. But all in all, after watching it, all I remember is that Natalie is incredibly gorgeous. For entertainment, it's pretty decent. I'd rate this movie a 4 out of 10. The movie is currently playing in theaters. If you want, you can buy tickets to go see it. And now, goodbye and see you next time.